Jordan Poole went from rising star on a championship team to being labeled as one of the most inefficient players in the NBA. But it turns out there's one thing all of us completely missed about Poole. Allow me to explain. But before we get there, we have to understand how it all started happening. Jordan Poole's unexpected rise in the NBA is still something many of us are glancing over, especially considering his stats paired with his expressive personality are what led Poole to shatter expectations early in his career. And during his rookie season with the Golden State Warriors in the 2019-2020 campaign, he posted an average of just 8.8 points per game. That was typical for a late-round draft choice. But in the following season, Poole's scoring average surged to 12 points per game, including 10 games of 20 points or more, showing flashes of what was soon to come. And at the same time, Jordan Poole's growth as a three-point shooter played a huge role in his unexpected rise to becoming the third member of the Splash Triplets, featuring him, Steph, and Clay. And so the momentum was rising for Poole, which was also evident in how much he was being featured out on the court. His average minutes per game rose to around 26 minutes, showing a significant uptick in the trust level Steve Kerr and the rest of the coaching staff had for him. This increased playing time not only allowed him to showcase his skills, but also provide him with the platform to develop even more. And let's not forget his growing confidence, his increasingly bigger role, and his increasing minutes led him to quickly turn into the NBA's best free throw shooter. Yes, even better than the guy on his team wearing number 30. He was becoming a household name, and Warriors fans couldn't believe he fell to them at the 28th pick in the draft. And as time went on, Poole eventually turned into the Warriors' second best scoring option, on their way to winning yet another NBA championship. In fact, most people would have told you at the time that the Warriors would not have even reached the NBA Finals if it weren't for Poole's impressive playoff run in 2022. We had every reason to believe that the Warriors would be headed down a long and glamorous path with the young Jordan Poole because we were seeing nothing but great things happen. Hell, Steve Kerr even said about Poole that, quote, "He's a big part of our current team and a big part of our future too. He's earned it." Things were looking up for the Warriors and their fans in this future Steph Curry era. And now you're probably thinking, where did it all go wrong? Well, I'm glad you asked, because anytime you are defending champions and something like, I don't know, two of your players get in a brawl before the season has even started, people are going to ask questions. And now we know that the Warriors have publicly acknowledged multiple times how bad this fight was for the team. But what people were missing about this all is that it really didn't just boil down to Jordan Poole having an issue with Draymond, or vice versa. The truth is, all the key names on the roster were bothered by Jordan Poole in some way or another. And yes, even veteran leaders like Andre Iguodala. But let me clear the air on one important thing. First, Steph Curry is arguably the best leader in all of the NBA, right? We can agree on that. Leading by example, giving his guys tough love on the court. Steph's leadership isn't given enough recognition though. So I don't think it was ever fair to criticize Steph for not being able to galvanize the troops after an incident like that. Hell, we should give the man his praise for dragging a team with the worst road record in basketball, a young guy with an ego in Poole, a hothead like Draymond, to a Game 6 against the highest rated defensive team in basketball. But let's face it, from what we saw from Steph and the other Warriors last season versus the championship season, you can't tell me there wasn't a big difference in the way they would address Jordan Poole in front of the media or how they vibed with him on the court. Yes, they all said the right things and backed JP anytime he'd do something boneheaded, but how many times did we see Steph taking issue with Poole's decision-making on the court? And speaking of Steph Curry, there's something between the lines that happened involving Poole and Steph that led to Poole's downfall in the Bay. Jordan Poole wanted to be the man, just like Steph. And admittedly so, he gave us those Steph Curry vibes early. I feel like I've seen this before. Same jersey, similar sized player, and the same spot. It felt like Poole was the next ultimate Warrior. His style of play, his swagger, and his cachet all felt perfect for the Warriors culture. And in today's NBA, where elite guard play is more valuable than anything. But for Poole, the issue was he wanted to be the guy that takes 25 shots a night, can shoot it whenever he wants, from wherever he wants. In other words, Jordan Poole wanted the same treatment from the Warriors that Steph Curry gets, aka the superstar treatment. When Poole was traded to the Wizards, he openly stated a few times how thrilled he was to have his own team, which he wanted so badly in Golden State. See, Poole felt that he deserved that superstar treatment because of his big role en route to a championship. But what he didn't realize is that it takes much more than a series, a postseason, or even an entire season to prove yourself in the NBA. And when you're playing under a guy like Steph Curry, who is neck and neck with LeBron as the face of the NBA and maybe one of the greatest of all time, you can forget about becoming the lead guy or the alpha on that team. But Poole didn't want to accept that. He wanted more than what he was getting, which turned into the biggest problem for Jordan Poole. Now that he's in Washington and getting a new opportunity, he's feeling pressure to live up to those sky-high expectations that he put on himself, by the way. Which leads us to the most important part of this video, which encapsulates why I think the end of Jordan Poole is a serious possibility. If some of these worst-case scenarios happen. See, it was an ugly ending for Jordan Poole in Golden State. We know all the stories about him rubbing guys the wrong way in the locker room, his tensions with Draymond, and how those two ruined a potentially great season for the Warriors, and even stories about the Warriors coaching staff going above and beyond to baby Jordan Poole just so he didn't lash out and cause issues in the public eye. When the season ended the way it did, with Jordan Poole playing some of his worst basketball ever, including that notorious bad shot he took at the end of Game 1 against the Lakers, and let's not forget about the viral clips of Poole pouting when being pulled out of the game by Steve Kerr. It all created the ugly writing on the wall that Jordan Poole's days in Golden State were numbered. It came to a point where even he said that he felt after the season that a trade was coming. This was bad for Jordan Poole. So going into the season and beyond, there was understandably going to be a ton of pressure on Jordan Poole to showcase himself. And rightfully so. I mean, he's openly spoken about how he's always wanted to have his own team, which makes us think that Poole feels like he can go out and become an all-star if given the right situation. But speaking of all-star, or lack thereof, yeah, it's still early, I know, but Jordan Poole is off to a nightmarish start, averaging just 17 points and shooting an atrocious sub 40% from the floor and just 28% from three. Though I believe Poole is more than skilled enough to get his numbers back on track, if he doesn't, what's the narrative going to be? That the Warriors absolutely played Jordan Poole and dropped him and he'll never be anything without the dubs. Jordan Poole doesn't want that narrative haunting him for the rest of his career. And that's only one side of the equation. The other side? Oh, I don't know, living up to the pressure and expectation of being a savior of a franchise? The Wizards have big expectations for this 24-year-old. I'm not saying that the Wizards are trying to make Poole their MJ or LeBron or even Steph, but if a franchise considers you as their splash move for a rebuilding franchise, that kind of gives you the feeling that you have to play elite level basketball all season. These two things, from what happened last season and what's transpiring right now, are the two biggest problems for Jordan Poole. But here's my last point. Not all problems are a one-way street, because Jordan Poole could literally shut all the haters and the naysayers up by just averaging 25 points per game, making the All-Star team, and maybe even getting the Wizards to the playoffs. If that happens, the narrative won't just switch to Jordan Poole being one of the NBA's best young players again. It'll be about the Warriors messing up badly for trading him and choosing him over the aging Chris Paul. While Poole's departure in Golden State felt like a bad ending, he has a chance to make things right and rebuild his reputation as one of the NBA's best 25 and under players. He has the talent, but will he live up to the high expectations? What do you make of Jordan Poole's current place in the NBA? Let us know down in the comments. That's it for today's video. We'll see you in the next one.